What's up, everybody? Welcome in on this Tuesday edition of the podcast. My name is Michael Borky. Always glad that you are here with me. So, it is Oklahoma week, and I think the biggest game in Lane Kiffin's tenure at Ole Miss so far. Even bigger than Georgia a year ago, possibly so. There is an actual football game getting played this weekend. We'll talk about that. There was also some interesting comments made by one of Ole Miss's players in a good way. If you're looking for some positive energy, I've got that for you. We will talk more, I'm sure, about Lane Kiffin and Florida and the things that come with that. And of course, read your comments on this edition of the show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, wherever you get your podcast. Just search Rebel Report and subscribe. And if you like what you hear, leave a rating and a review. Also, right here on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff there as well. And this edition of the show is brought to you in part by Toyota of Brookhaven. Check them out online at toyotaofbrookhaven.com. That's the website, toyotaofbrookhaven.com. They're also off of Exit 40 in Brookhaven. If you're looking for a car buying experience that is actually going to feel good when you drive the car off the lot, that's the place to go. Even if they're not in your backyard, you can check out their inventory online. They'll also give you $1,000 off on me, $1,000 off on me, any in-stock new Toyota. If you just tell them that I sent you, Toyota of Brookhaven will deliver. So, Ole Miss, a small underdog in Norman after a abysmal performance defensively. And a few things in this game that I'm watching for before we start talking about Lane in particular with the noise. Trinidad's second start in a hostile environment. I think that it was, you don't know this for sure, but I think you guys watched the same thing that I did. It felt like once the game got tight and they realized that they basically had to be perfect to win the game, and the crescendo of the game, it almost felt like it kind of got to them a little bit. The environment got to Trinidad Chambliss a little bit. You wonder how much this week he can build off of that experience a week ago. How much can you build off of that? Because Oklahoma is still going to be a hostile environment despite being an 11 a.m. kickoff. They'll be ready to go. It's a good fan base, and it's a tough place to play, and they'll be ready. How ready will he be? How much did he learn from that a week ago? Because I would expect a tight game in this one as well. So how does he handle it? Is he more equipped for when the game gets tight and the crowd becomes what it was to handle that better than he did last week? Because I do think that he pressed a little bit in the game. So watching for that very closely. I do think Ole Miss has a favorable matchup in this game if they can protect Trinidad, which is going to be difficult. This Oklahoma defensive front is quite good and productive, but if they can protect Trinidad, which they have done a good job of pass protection as a unit, really, especially lately. I mean, they weren't literally perfect against Georgia, but they did a really good job in Athens of pass protection. So if they can give him time, I do think that Ole Miss's weapons will provide opportunities to complete passes. They will be able to get open. I think you'll have a mismatch there, relatively speaking. Again, Oklahoma, very good, very well coached. I think you'll have opportunities for that. As you can imagine, everything, though, is about the other side of the ball. Oklahoma has not been a particularly good running offense until this past weekend, but I think that's more of a product of South Carolina than anything else. Can they find a way to figure out what the hell happened to them a week ago? I think that even though it was limited snaps, Andrew Jones has earned opportunities to play on the defensive line. They have to be a lot more physical. John Mateer, obviously a lot more slippery than Gunnar Stockton, although Stockton's not a bad athlete either. But, I mean, will this defense be able to get stops? We'll see. I mean, who knows, right? But this is such a fascinating game because you have an offense that struggles running the football and a defense that struggles to stop the run. On the flip side, you have an Ole Miss offense that can be really efficient and really good, but has not been perfect in spots in each of the last two games. Something's got to give here. And I'm so fascinated to see, what that is, because this is a game that is so massive for Ole Miss football for so many reasons. One, if you complete the stretch at 7-1, coming back to host a bad South Carolina team that's in line to lose again. You've got a Florida team that just fired their coach. You've got the Citadel, and then you've got Mississippi State, who is struggling at the moment. If you get out of that stretch 7-1 with those games remaining, you are in prime position to make the playoff in a schedule that is so favorable. So just like on that part, just making the playoff this season, winning this game goes so far into making that happen. But it also would be proof that you have a program that can go win a big game like that as a road underdog. For all the good that Kiffin has done at Ole Miss, that's something that he's been missing. Right, is a win like this. They've won a lot of quality home games, not as much this kind of game. They had an opportunity last year in Baton Rouge and in Gainesville and couldn't do it. Uh, this is something that they are missing, and it would be proof that they can go in and do that. And then the historical component of making the playoff, the big picture. So in the micro, making the playoff this year would be a very good thing. And then just the big picture, the wide angle is, I think it would be the first step into validation that the program is taking a step forward if they can, in what was supposed to be a rebuilding year, put themselves in position to and make the playoff, uh, possibly hosting a home playoff game in that rebuilding year would be validation that you are in fact taking a step forward as a program. There's so much that can come, so many implications that come with a win in Norman, and a loss wouldn't end the season. You still can make the playoff at 10-2, but there's no margin for error. And I'm afraid that if they lose this game, wheels might fall off on this season. More on that in a second. But there are so many things to be gained with a win here in this game, and it's a winnable football game. This Oklahoma defense puts up great numbers. They're very good. They're very talented, and you'll see that on Saturday. They've also benefited from playing three of the worst offenses in the SEC. Ironically enough, one of them is Texas. But how much of their defensive prowess is them getting to play against bad offenses? This is by far the most talented and best coached offense that they have seen so far this year, and it's really not close at all. Now, they had a nice game against Michigan, but that was Bryce Underwood's first road start ever as a true freshman. But they have not been challenged offensively in the way that they will be on Saturday. So, super talented quarterback. How healthy is that thumb? What's the weather going to be like? Massive opportunity for Ole Miss to take a huge step forward as a program. And can they do that? Are they prepared for blocking out the distractions and playing well and winning what is a winnable game? I talked about it on the radio show. I'm going to kind of basically repeat myself a little bit there, but I know you guys want to talk about coaching search thing, and I know our radio audience does, although I felt like I got a little redundant today because I don't think that anything's going to happen right now. I know it's been talked about on Twitter and in message board land about how a new deal is imminent, and I don't think that that is true. I know that Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin have talked. Keith Carter said as much last week about being proactive and trying to get a deal done and things like that. But um, it's not going to happen this week. And it would run counter to everything that Lane Kiffin's ever said before, whether you agree or disagree with the sentiment that he's going to somehow sign a new deal right now. It just runs counter to everything that he's ever shown you or been about since his time at Ole Miss. I will tell you this. You don't have to worry, though, about, in my opinion anyway, your athletic director or athletic department or university not doing everything that they can to make this happen. You are in really good hands from a leadership perspective within the department, regardless of what that decision is down the road, they're going to do what they can to keep him. But if for whatever reason he chooses not to stay, they're well prepared to not only replace him in the immediate, but maintaining the level of investment and care that the program has gotten under Lane Kiffin. They're not going to watch him leave and then just dial it back down to zero when it comes to investing in football. The program's in really good hands, but I don't think you're going to have a Signetti situation, as I understand it, for whatever it's worth. Uh, I've talked to a few people, and I think it's clear that Florida is intriguing. It's something that he's taking the call on. And in fairness to Kiffin, and I'll get to the other side of it in a second. In fairness to him, if a competitor of your business called you to possibly offer you a lucrative deal, you wouldn't take the call? I love where I work. I love the people that I work for. A few years ago, a station in a different market called me and wanted me to go there to work to do radio there. I took the phone call. I never really I wasn't going to leave. I didn't have any intention of leaving, but I took the call to hear them out, and it wasn't good enough for me. And that was the end of the conversation. But I think it would be naive to not expect Lane Kiffin in particular to not hear Florida out, to not at least engage with the possibility of seeing what they offer and seeing what Ole Miss offers. It would be great if everybody would handle things like Kirk Signetti, but not everybody is him. He is about it, right? He talked about it, and he was about it. And Indiana offered him a massive contract, and he took it and put all the speculation to bed. And I think that more coaches should do what Kirk Signetti did, especially when they are going to be or have already been offered a contract that would put them among the highest paid coaches in the sport, ahead of people that have actually made the playoff and won conference championships and on par or just slightly under the most recent national championship winning head coach. Not far behind Kirby Smart, who just beat you and has won 2 national championships. If that is not enticing enough to commit right now, that's fine. I am not concerned about whether or not a deal gets done right now. I am only concerned about how the football team plays because it's October 21st as of this conversation. So sign a new deal, don't sign a new deal, do a Signetti, don't do a Signetti. I don't really care about that. It doesn't matter to me if that happens, because that doesn't have to happen for you to stay at your current place and then handle this the right way. And that's what I'll end on, and then we'll get to your comments after that. I'm not concerned about what the answer is. That's something that you deal with down the road. It's October 21st. What I am concerned about and what I'm watching for is if Lane Kiffin in particular has learned about how the Auburn situation was handled, and can that be channeled and changed and handled differently this time, regardless of what the final decision is, whether or not he knows what it is yet, which it's possible, by the way, that he has no idea what he's going to do yet. And that's okay. Again, that's not the problem. Hearing Florida out is not the problem. The problem is if you allow that to become a sideshow distraction. And as we talked about on Sunday, Auburn became a sideshow distraction. The team was not prepared at all. Got absolutely, and I know Fayetteville is a difficult place to play, but that wasn't a great Arkansas team. Ole Miss had no business being that uncompetitive in that game. But it wasn't just that. It was the leaking and stuff to Chris Lowe. It was how terrible the John Sokolov situation was handled, and all of the stuff on social media and the complaining about a facility that was getting renovated above his head when it happened. That became a sideshow because the coach allowed it to become a sideshow. You can not sign a new deal and also be focused and prepared and have a team that's focused and prepared and ready to play, because the opportunity that presents itself to Ole Miss this weekend is massive. And it would be an absolute shame if anything got in the way of that. Now, I don't know. We'll find out on Saturday if it did, right? There's no way of knowing right now. There's no way of knowing right now whether or not it's going to impact the team. So preemptively thinking that it's being handled poorly at the moment, it's not particularly fair either. But I'm concerned about it, and I think because precedent tells you that you should be. I said last thing. This is the last thing. Jaden Williams, Ole Miss's offensive tackle, it's having a good season. This is part of a quote he had today. Quote, if you remember 2022, start off 7-0 and lose a tough one to Alabama, we let the wheels fall off. At the end of the day, 5 games left. You don't want the wheels to fall off, and there's no reason to let the wheels fall off. There's a longer quote in there along that similar sentiment, though. And what's so interesting about today's college football is that was 3 years ago. How many players on this team actually were around to witness that? He is one of them, but it's a very small handful of players. And what you hope is a player like him can draw from that experience and try to help his team navigate the noise a little bit better, because, yeah, they've lost one game and it doesn't mean anything remotely close to the season being over or whatever. And I think that's also an indicator. He chose that year for a reason, because it wasn't just that they lost a game and then the wheels fell off. He's referencing. I'm putting words in his mouth. Maybe I shouldn't. It certainly appears to me that he's referencing 2022 in particular because of Auburn and how that was handled. But also the notion, the idea that we talked about on Sunday, that if it wasn't for the media, nobody would even know that that's going on. That tells you right there that the players see it, they know about it, they hear it, and pretending like they don't is naive, is what it is. So hopefully they can block it all out and focus, because they have a winnable game here. It is to Lane Kiffin's credit that they're in the position that they're currently in what is a rebuilding year and all the things that come with that. But now is the time to lock it up and handle it and coach well and play well and take advantage of the opportunity that they have created for themselves to set themselves up into a position to make the playoff and be a team that makes noise this season. All right, we'll get to your comments after I tell you the podcast is brought to you in part by Advantage Business Systems. Check them out online at absms.com. Advantage Business Systems has you covered for all of your Mississippi office technology needs. Tell them that I sent you. You'll get a complimentary office technology assessment. You tell them what you need and what your budget is, and they will perform an office technology assessment on me. Advantage Business Systems, absms.com. Podcast is also brought to you by Priority One Bank. They make you their priority every day with their online banking platform. It's a one-stop shop. All you need is an internet connection. You can do whatever it is that you need to do with your money. Priority One Bank is where I bank, and you should too. Bank with me at Priority One Bank. All right, here we go. Biggest week for Lane ever. Tend to agree. Big part of you is extremely concerned about how this weekend could go. The amount of distraction in the Florida thing has created since Sunday already has become extremely loud in the nation landscape. Absolutely, it has. No doubt about it. Hopefully Lane can block out the noise, since he can't commit to the players in a season where he can make it to the playoff. Almost 50-50 they make the playoff if they lose to Oklahoma. I have a feeling the wheels would fall off if they lost this weekend. How did Mateer look last weekend? You weren't able to watch. They actually ran the football great in that game, although South Carolina on the lines of scrimmage is so bad. I don't know if he is 100% yet. I think that, with another week, maybe it can get better, but it has not looked the same. It certainly did not look the same in Red River. He threw for 150 yards and a touchdown, right? But it's the running game for Oklahoma, and he wasn't really involved in it. They ran for 170 yards and a pair of touchdowns, only 4.3 per. But I mean, that's a bad South Carolina team, guys, and they're really bad on the lines of scrimmage. But still, I mean, they held them to 1.6 per carry, and the Norris Sellers threw for 124 yards. Uh, I don't think he's quite ready yet. If Ole Miss loses, the pundits will blame it on the coaching drama. It's possible that they'd be right. Kind of think it's a must-win game, and there's been some people saying that as well. I tend to think that that is correct. Yeah. For a lot of reasons, I tend to think that that is correct. Should have given the ball to Lacey after they got up by 9. Yeah, it looked like they kind of fell in love with. I mean, but in fairness, man, the play calls were there. Trinidad just missed them. They had good calls with open receivers, specifically Daquan Wright. They just weren't there. Players are already posting about Lane in Florida. No, so I didn't. No player has posted about that. I did see that Winston Watkins liked an Instagram post about what Lane could do with the resources at Florida, and that's the kind of stuff that you're talking about, though. That's the kind of thing where it was just so naive to pretend that nobody's talking about it within the program. It's just, can you block that out and have them ready to play regardless of the conversation around you? Looked very shell-shocked in that fourth quarter. He did. That was his first time in an environment like that. Needs to be better this time, though. Hope they're practicing with the wet ball all week. It's going to rain through the whole game on Saturday. Is it going to rain through the whole game? Let's see. Norman, Oklahoma weather. Saturday. Give me an actual. All right, I'm going to the Weather Channel just for what it's worth. All right, Saturday. High of 61. Occasional rain. Winds at 10 to 15 miles an hour. Chance of rain, 90%. Doesn't have like an actual time, though, but it does say occasional rain. And then the nighttime, even though it's a morning kickoff, says cloudy with occasional rain showers. All right, let's look at Friday. Friday night, showers and thunderstorms during the evening will give way to steady rain overnight. Wow. Going to be kind of a messy one. I think that might favor Ole Miss if that's the case, though. Hearing next to nothing about the Oklahoma game. It's all Lane to Florida. Don't know if that's good or bad for Saturday. I don't think it's good. And I think it's unfortunate, too, to be honest with you, man. I mean, it's October 20. I keep saying that. It's October 21st. It's October 21st. And you've got a game between two teams trying to make the playoff, and the conversation centered around that's it's very frustrating just from a national perspective. All of the college football conversation, forget Lane to Florida, all the other stuff is about coaching carousel too. James Franklin sitting on the set of College Game Day. We wait 8 months for the season to get here. And a month and a half into the season, it's about who's going to be coaching next season. Like we can't even enjoy the season first before we get the coaching carousel stuff. And it's just it's annoying because there's actual games to talk about, absent what we're doing here. He's going to piss away a great season just so he can go and possibly get in the same place at Florida. Wait and see. Wait and see. They've got to play poorly first. They did not play poorly this past Saturday. They just lost. Defensively, they played poorly, but you know what I mean. That wasn't – they just got beat. That's all that was. We'll see Saturday. Oklahoma's number 1 nationally in total defense and number 2 in scoring defense. Ole Miss is 66th and 52nd. Look at the offenses they've played, though. I think there's a little bit. They're very well coached and talented. Like, they're good. I'm not saying that they're not good. There's a little bit of fool's gold in that, though, because of who they've played. But again, very talented, very well coached, very good. If his distractions cause this season to crash out, it's going to be very hard to argue to boosters and fans that they want to keep him. Well, if you had to ask me if they crashed out, what would happen, I think that you'd be looking for a new football coach. That is my opinion. Free to disagree. Tell me I'm insane. Post about me on message boards, whatever. But I think that if this season ends with 3+ losses, he's gone. That is my gut feeling, not sourced or whatever. I'm just saying what I feel happens. Fear that Lane is off to Florida, was not wearing Ole Miss gear on game day or Monday's press conference. You're overthinking that part. Very overthinking that part. Week is as important for Golding as it is for Kiffin. This is a massive week for Pete Golding. Though his side of the ball needs to play significantly better. I mean, don't forget what he's getting paid now. Highest paid assistant in the SEC. Talked about it before, but that stretch with 6-2 with the runway of 4-0 of a 4-0 finish could be enough, but I don't know if a loss Saturday leads to 10-2. I agree. The lane stuff has got to get figured out before Florida gets to Oxford. It could get really nasty in the Grove and in the stands. That is a bridge that we'll cross when we get there. But yes, if it's not put to bed and Florida's in town and let Ole Miss play poorly that day, it'll be weird, right? They can beat Oklahoma, but will they? They've seen a mixture of good game prep and bad game prep this whole season. I think you've only seen bad. Offensively, you've seen one bad game prep. And even then, it was like, quarterback struggled a lot, which makes it look like game prep was bad with Washington State. Going to be a tough game, but think an even more winnable game that Georgia, then at Georgia, almost should have won that one. Yeah, this is the 2-week stretch right here. Yes, it is. You say to you, it seems like Kiffin's making it all about himself. You only hear a read as Kiffin to Florida and not Ole Miss versus Oklahoma. Kiffin could make all of this go away, but he won't. 2022 all over again. I don't think it's, again, I'm going to keep repeating myself. It's not there yet. It's not 2022 yet. Just because there's an open job and they're pursuing him and he won't comment on it doesn't mean it's descended into 2022 yet. That's not what's happening here. Marcus Freeman has not announced his extension with Notre Dame yet. So he's been linked to Penn State. Whether or not it's realistic doesn't matter. He's been linked to it. He's been linked whether or not it's realistic to Florida. And he hasn't announced a new contract yet. So that's not a requirement to not make this go like 2022. It's a complicated ask. They've never gone 11-1 before, but we're all basically saying that they need to do that. Well, the schedule, I mean, and it's to their credit, though. I mean, they got to this point where they are, right? And the schedule sets up so well after the fact. A lose plus Kiffin drama, and the wheels come off, win, and I think everything solves itself. Another one. Well, I don't think Lane is leaving. Sorry, I'm having a hard time talking today, guys. I was really bad on the radio show today, too. If he does, the school should pursue. No, we're not going to get into candidates or anything like that right now. There's no reason to. I appreciate you being here, of course, and all that. That's not worth the conversation right now. Looking forward to Norman. I've heard good things about the people of Oklahoma. I know you guys got to experience them. And look, when you go there, not everybody's going to be super nice. Like, there's always going to be, forget my language, earmuffs if there are kids in the car. There's always going to be the asshole that you have to deal with. Always. But I've heard good things about the people there and how they'll treat you and stuff like that. So I hope that those are correct because I have heard good things. I like their media contingent too. Every interaction I've had with somebody that covers Oklahoma has been like really nice and pleasant. So anyway, for someone hyper-focused on winning, it makes no sense for Lane to allow the distractions that could derail the remaining season. He could shut it all down. Ole Miss deserves better. Depends on how they play on Saturday. Concerned the Georgia game could beat them twice. A little bit of loyalty from a place that has gone above and beyond to give you what you need to succeed is not too much to ask. Maybe he hasn't really learned anything. 95% chance of rain might be sloppy. Again, I think that favors Ole Miss. I think it does. Oklahoma is going to goose egg Lane. Would you like to put money on that? Dan Mullen had a similar record at Florida, like Kiffin has at Ole Miss, and he got fired. Interesting to think about. Yeah, I mean, they have inflated expectations there for sure. The stuff people are, especially on the Florida side, are trying to push a lot of lies online is just ridiculous, and it's everywhere. I've never seen so much attention from a fan base on a single coach. Yeah, especially when you get into stuff like this school's enrollment's bigger. Well, okay, how many of your enrolled students are actively engaged in supporting football? How many of them go to satellite campuses? I mean, it's just like when you talk about stuff like that, you're losing the plot to me. But anyway, whatever. It's just every fan base, especially one that has tasted success at the high level like they have. It's interesting though, right? Because on one hand, they say this job is so much better, so much better, so much better. You can win championships, all that stuff. The last four coaches haven't, but doesn't matter because you can, and it's so much better. It's so much better. It's so much better. It's a no-brainer for a coach to come to our job, but also we're going to have to pay him an insane amount of money to get him to leave his current job. Like if it was so good, why would you have to give a godfather off anyway? Uh, His last extension was signed in December. This extension has to have a large buyout in both directions. I've got bad news for you. I'm just going to skip the Pate thing tonight, if that's okay. I have not said, in other words, that Kiffin is gone. I have not. Sorry, Maverick's having a bad dream again. Hey, Bubba. He's okay. Hello, Bubba. Maverick. He's in deep sleep back there. Goodness gracious, buddy. I'm being loud, and it took me all that to wake him up. He's an old dog. He's a good dog, though. No, I have not implied that he's gone, and there's nothing that I can't say out loud. That's just not true. There's no lines to read between with me at all. He's not going to do anything that isn't in his best interest. There's nothing they can. You say we, being Ole Miss, can do about it. Don't give it any airtime. D, I have to. I have to talk about this stuff. It's my job. That's what Ole Miss fans are concerned about. That's what they're talking about. I would love for it to be only about the games, but that's just not the reality that we sit in. It is not my job to, you say don't give it airtime, support the team. That's not my job. My job is not to support the team or to do what's best and protect the program or whatever. Right? We have to talk about this stuff. Have to. I'm sure that there are places that you can go that won't. I don't know of any, but I'm sure they're out there. It's non-committal both ways. Sexton is going to have him wait until after the season to see what all opens. That seems to be the most likely of explanations here, is that the coaching carousel is not over. Florida State's going to come open. Is LSU going to? And guys like Sexton and his clients, including Lane Kiffin, can use that to hold all of their employers hostage. It is there's a book to be written about Jimmy Sexton that would be unbelievably fascinating. Greg Sankey doesn't control college football or the SEC. Jimmy Sexton does. It's a massive program swing for Ole Miss Saturday as well, not just the season. Don't think they're going to win. You think they lose, and it gets weird. He's gone. You're convinced that the E60 was just a way to remake his image. The timing of when it aired was very convenient. I think he's been looking for a landing spot since his Auburn decision. Well, that last part's not true. But he didn't choose the timing of the E60. That was ESPN's call. That was Ryan McGee. Like he doesn't have a say in when it airs. He has a say in when he grants the interview and stuff like that. But I mean, if you watched the E60, and for him to say all those things and then jump to a new job would only confirm that everything that was said was a bunch of crap. So I don't think that's remaking an image. It's only remaking an image if you act on your words, you know? And look, coaches are full of crap. Almost all of them are anyway. So, you know, it wouldn't be unique to him. But to have that documentary air and say all the things that were said on it just to leave a few months later is just confirming that everything that was on it was just kind of BS. Which, again, you guys have seen it. Nick Saban, I'm not going to be the next head coach at Alabama. Tommy Tuberville, Pine Box, and so on and so forth. At this point, Florida's a lateral move and possibly a step down. Ole Miss will pay any amount that Florida will pay, so this will not be solely about money. We shall see. It's already a sideshow and a distraction. Again, it's all about Lane and not the team. No national media is talking about the game, just Kiffin in Florida. That's how it is. I hear you. And I've said what you're saying here, that history says this season will tank. You only have precedent of one other time that this happened and the season did tank. So, no, you're right. There is precedent for that. But you can't say for sure until you see them play, you know? You think maybe the fans and local media were not as prepared as they should be about the extreme focus Florida has on Kiffin, namely after. If fans were not prepared for this, then frankly, all of us in the media did a bad job of letting you know that this was coming. Yeah, the second they lost to South Florida, this was coming for sure. I'm not intentionally skipping messages, guys. There's a lot of them, and we're already up to about 40 minutes. But Ole Miss is better than Oklahoma. Go win a freaking game. No kidding. Hate to even think about the worst case scenario. Let's say he leaves. Who do you go after? Oh no, I have a long-standing policy that we won't do that until the job possibly comes open. You're killing me. But no, I won't do it. I'm gonna stand firm. I'm gonna stand firm on my policy. I'm not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. Just know that your athletic director will not be blindsided by that. He will be prepared for when that day comes. The playoff predictor says Ole Miss's chances fall to 30% with a loss on Saturday. Austin with the super chat. Really appreciate you, man. Thank you. Scale from 1 to 10. How tired of you are the coaching rumors? I mean, it would be great. And I don't, there's no way to do it. What would be best for college football, in my opinion, would be for this stuff to happen in the same way that it does in the NFL. This cannot happen in the NFL. Now, you can't interview other coaches without the other school's permission. There's no CBA, but coaching search season needs to happen at the end of the season. It happening in October is garbage. It's garbage. It's bad for the players. It's bad for the fans. It's bad for the consumers of the media product. Again, James Franklin sitting on the why was that even a thing that happened there? Uh, it's a problem, and I don't like that this is an annual thing. No matter what, every year it's and I'm not talking about Ole Miss. I mean, in college football, every year the coaching carousel fires up. Not necessarily like this early, but that I think stuff like this should be off-season stuff. Excited for this trip to Norman. This is stop number 16 for your dad and you watching the Rebels play in SEC stadiums. Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. I hope you have a picture from each one. Run around the other SEC games. Will Freeze be out of the job? Yes, when they lose Saturday. Him asking his athletic director for a vote of confidence was the most pathetic thing I've seen from an SEC football coach, I think. Horrendous. Arkansas is now a favorite in the game, by the way. If Bobby Petrino, I don't know if he's a candidate. I don't think he is. But Arkansas is dangerous. They're going to get somebody, and I don't think Auburn counts as somebody that they're going to go get. But they have Auburn, Mississippi State, which they'll be favored in next weekend. I think anyway. At LSU, at Texas, against Missouri. They're going to get one of those. Petrino's has them locked in. Alabama's going to just absolutely overwhelm South Carolina in the trenches. And that's going to be, I think that's going to be a very Saban-like game. Like they're going to win 38-10, something like that. Just a boring, dominating win. Missouri Vanderbilt will be I think the most fun game of the weekend. Probably low scoring though. The over/under is 52. I don't know if I'm in on that one yet, but I think Vanderbilt's just going to keep this rolling. Texas athletically is going to overwhelm Mississippi State. There's a lot of talk about State winning that game. I think athleticism is going to be an issue for the Bulldogs in that one. LSU is going to upset A&M and really cause chaos around the playoffs. Don't ask me why I feel that way other than the voodoo magic of Tiger Stadium. And then Tennessee, Kentucky, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around to hear it. Doesn't make a sound. Does Ole Miss win on Saturday and do the wheels come off? If they win on Saturday, no, they don't. If they lose, I think they will. Any truth to the rumor? You're moving to Alabama so you can vote Feinbaum for governor. I would run the campaign of whoever's running against him. I think Lane stays and this gets handled better this go around, but that starts with winning in Norman. And here's the thing about that too. Like if you're going to be a confirmed playoff team, jumping to another job is almost impossible. I mean, that almost kind of ends it for anybody, really. I mean, I guess maybe a G5 team, but still, like that kind of ends it. Any shot at all, he signs an extension before Saturday. I would be more shocked if I woke up and my head was sewn to the carpet. You're right. P. Cody needs to get his you-know-what together. No kidding. No kidding. Will not surprise you when Ole Miss wins. He trolls Florida hard. That actually kind of would be funny. Jamie, good to see you. Good to see you, Jamie. Feels like 2022 and here with the live chat. Remember those good times? Me too. Rain has you a little scared Saturday. I think that favors Ole Miss, though. Brian Fisher, the Florida fan. Kiffin wants the Florida job. You know what's so interesting is how so many people know what the guy that doesn't talk to anybody wants and what he doesn't want. I'm not going to do that here because I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know what's important to him. I assume family is important to him, especially because he talks about them so much. And I have a family of my own, and they are the most important thing to me. I was just on the phone with my dad before I went live here for a while. Living 500 miles away from my dad is the worst thing in the world. I hate it. but I love my family. So that's probably important to him. But I'm not going to tell you that I know what he's going to do or what he thinks or what he wants because I don't know. And neither do you. Austin, appreciate you, man, with the super chat. Thank you, my friend. One thing you've realized recently, National College Football Media does not want to see schools like Ole Miss, Indiana, and Missouri succeed. It's apparently no good. Yeah, they're stuck in the blue blood ways. I mean, you saw that. I know he's not National College Football Media, but that Todd Furman tweet earlier today is just an example of what people think that he could not enjoy watching Georgia Tech and USF in the playoff because it's not brand. It's like those are incredibly well coached teams that are really fun that have two awesome quarterbacks. What are we talking about? How can you not enjoy that? But that gives you a good look into the way a lot of people think that if it's not a brand, they don't care, and that's a shame. But Elko's playing the same game at A&M. He said something really dumb. He was like, a few weeks ago, the conversation about me was I'm getting fired and now I'm going to leave. That doesn't make any sense. Like nobody at all was talking about you getting fired. You just made that up. Just completely made it up. See a lot of Florida people just trashing Ole Miss in the state of Mississippi in general. Yeah, just ignore that though. I mean, it's just ignorant losers online. I mean, once you see a lot of the people behind these burner accounts, it gives you a pretty clear indication that you shouldn't be bothered by what they say. Yeah, if it's not settled when Florida goes to Oxford, it'll be odd. But it depends on Ole Miss's record. If Ole Miss still only has one loss, then I don't think that'll be that weird, to be honest with you. Need Andrew Jones type of performance on defense this weekend. He needs to play a heck of a lot more. He needs to play a heck of a lot more. I got to scroll through all the Florida comments. That's okay. I'm just not going to waste time on that. People that have not been loyal here are not going to get the airtime. At least Ole Miss is a better kicker than the Giants, buddy. Well, they had to cut him today. No kidding. Georgia Tech versus Georgia will be interesting. I hope it's interesting. Want to hear some of these Florida fans explain why Napier wasn't? Oh, because Napier sucks. And then also Dan Mullen sucks. And then also Jim McElwain sucks. And also Will Muschamp. Just all of these coaches are just all awful. Oh. I appreciate that, Austin. Appreciate you guys, all of you guys, being here. Hopefully, Thursday we'll get to talk about actual football and actual football only because this is a fascinating game. So, really appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys on Thursday at 9:00. Keys to the game, all that stuff. I will have an Oklahoma interview for you as well. So be on the lookout for that, and I'll see you guys then.